Hi, and welcome to Equine Business Edge, the podcast for horse professionals who want to build a stronger, more profitable business without losing their passion for the horse industry. I'm your host, Jamie Birch, entrepreneur, horseman, and founder of equinerevshare.com. Each episode, we dive into real-world business strategies, marketing, system, mindset, leadership, growth ideas, specifically for trainers, instructors, clinicians, barn owners, and equine entrepreneurs. This podcast is proudly produced and sponsored by equinerevshare.com, a platform that helps horse professionals earn commissions from the products they already know, use, and recommend every day in one simple click. Now, let's jump into today's episode. All right, let's talk about pricing. You probably feel right now that you are undercharging and you're not making as much as you want to. So today we're going to talk on this solo podcast episode. We're going to talk about pricing strategies, what's behind why you're not increasing your prices, what happens when you do, and a couple ways to do it. So this podcast, this episode is going to be really good for horse trainers, especially. But horse barn owners, photographers, body workers, I mean, everyone really in the horse industry, especially if you're providing a service. So this is the Equine Business Edge podcast. Thank you for joining today. My name is Jamie Birch. So, why do you want to listen to me? If you're just listening to this podcast, this is the first one. Again, my name is Jamie Birch. I'm a business owner and an equestrian. I have run and operated, started and sold businesses throughout my life. Over a 30-year career. In 2024, I sold JEB Commerce, a marketing agency, to several of my employees. They're doing a great job and continue to do great work. And I took profits from that business and started another, a healthcare agency. I run an online course company with a partner of mine, as well as Equine RevShare, where horse professionals can refer products very, very easily and get paid a commission when they do so. And recently I started opening a winery. And my horse credentials, I show AQHA. I rodeoed in college a little bit and have been around horses since then. Currently, my wife and I show AQHA in ranch riding, and we've used trainers for many of those years. So let's talk about pricing. Now, let me tell you, I ran an agency for a long time. And when I started, our prices were about $1,000 a month. And that was great. When I first started, my wife went to work and so that we could start this business. I left another agency, decided to hang up my shingle and do this all on my own. And so really, I took any client I could get at any rate. And I was that new emerging person in the market that said, I'm going to charge $1,000, right? At that point, everyone was charging about between $2,000 and $3,000 20 years ago to do that marketing. We did marketing for clients like Cabela's and Hilton Hotels and Satva mattresses, Princess Cruises, stuff like that. So I entered the market at a very low price. And within 6 weeks, we replaced all our income, and my wife was actually able to come home. Now, that was generating profit on my own. I didn't have any employees, and I just replaced what I was earning before, which was pretty decent, but not where I wanted to be. So eventually, I became known as the person who does really good work for that price, and that brought more clients. Then I had to hire. And that was a whole learning lesson there, learning about, if you pay someone $20 an hour, that's not your all-in cost. You have taxes, you have FICA, you have all these other things that you have to pay. And then you have to keep them. So you have to keep increasing the pay, and you have to add benefits and all this stuff that we did over that 20 years. But I hit a point where we simply couldn't add more clients and hire another person. I didn't really do a good job of figuring out what my margins were and really what to charge a client. And then when we did come up with that, we figured out we need to raise rates. I just couldn't do it. I didn't want to do it. I didn't know how to do it. There's a lot we're going to talk about behind that today, but I was stuck at a growth rate, a profit, and eventually, in order to serve the clients, I had to hire, and I wasn't making any money at all. So uh, we had to raise rates. It came to that point where we had to raise rates. Now, if you listen to Clinton Anderson on the Real Raw and Uncut podcast or Down Under Horsemanship, he's been really the forefront of talking about this issue as well. So for the horse professional, you have a lot of information out there to help you with this, but there was a lot going on behind the scenes that wasn't math when I wanted to raise prices. There was a lot of emotional baggage, that I had on me. It wasn't about spreadsheets. It wasn't about math. It was everything really in my head. One was the fear of rejection. If I raise my rates, my clients are going to tell me to screw off. I don't want to work with you. You're not worth anything more. New clients will laugh. Honestly, I had this, being completely vulnerable. I had this image of new clients telling me that there's no way in hell I'm worth that, and kind of laughing in this real exaggerated way. And, I had a little data to back that up. I did a pitch to an online university in Manhattan, and I was so nervous about this pitch. I just talked and talked and talked. And you know how some call systems, if one person's talking, you can't hear the other. Eventually, I took a breath, and really, this was after about 15 minutes, and they were laughing so hard. They were been trying to get me to stop from the beginning of my pitch. They weren't interested, and then they just listened, and I didn't let them speak. And so that feeling of being laughed at was this huge reason I didn't want to raise prices. I had this guttural feeling that's what's going to happen. And then, what if everyone leaves? I raise prices and everyone takes off. Now I've raised my prices, but I don't actually have any income coming in. The other is imposter syndrome. We talked about this before, and we'll definitely talk about this again. That imposter syndrome of like, now someone's going to find me out. They're going to figure out that I'm not worth this. This is not, uh, I'm not doing a great job. And man, how many podcasts could we talk about overcoming that? Uh, One thing that helped me real quick was to just fake it until you make it. I really had to think like, if I fully believed I deserve this rate, or I deserve to be in this room, or I deserve to speak on this issue, or even I deserve to create this podcast, how would I behave? And then I went and I actually just behaved that way. So that's one of the ways you can counter imposter syndrome. The other way is to just surround you with really good people who you trust their opinion. They're going to tell you really what they think about you and your product, your service, your idea. But they're also going to lift you up. And if it sucks, they're going to tell you. If the price is too high, they're going to tell you. And they have some knowledge of the industry. Anyway, that's imposter syndrome. We may do a whole podcast on that. And the other thing is, people pleasing. If you're in a service environment, you are most likely, there's a part of you that's that is people pleasing. And horse people, they're helpers. They love the horses and they want to help, and they love helping people. And you kind of may secretly believe, if I charge more, then I'm becoming greedy. And so there's this avoidance of profit because you feel guilty that you shouldn't be making that profit. But really, let's talk about that for a second. One of the things you need to know, and a belief I've always adhered to, is when you're making money, that's someone saying, almost voting for you. They're saying, thank you for this, and I would like to reward you with this. So it's really, you got to get over that aspect. The greediness. And there was a point that I dealt with that, but I also had to remember there's a reason I'm doing this. I'm not a nonprofit. I'm doing this to make money. I'm doing this to support my family. I'm doing this to give myself an opportunity to have the life that I've always dreamed of, to give my children that life. And if you're not making money and you're not making profit, your ability if you are a server and a people person, a people pleaser, your ability to help others dramatically decreases. When you have profitability, sustainability, solid financial management, you're charging appropriately, you're going to have a larger pool to help more. You may be able to hire more people, give more people opportunities. You may be able to take a chunk of that profit and create a charity, a nonprofit around this community. So I had to wrap my head around that. This wasn't about greed. It was about adequately pricing my value. Um, so it's kind of weird because in a service environment, when you're raising prices, you're really telling the world, this is what is how I value myself. And that's hard to get around on, but that's what they're doing. They're not buying your time. That's not what's happening. Whenever you get into a time for money situation, you're going to cap yourself at what you can earn, and that's what people are going to value. They're going to, well, I'm just taking an hour. How much could that cost? But that's not what they're buying. They are buying your expertise, your experience, your ability to get them to their goal. That's what they're buying. When you switch that mindset from they're buying an hour, how much am I really worth for an hour, to they want to reach a goal and I'm the one to help them get there. How much is that worth? And that changes things pretty dramatically. So all these things kind of make price increases, feel like almost a personal judgment on you. You got to move away from that. So let's talk about some math that no one really talks about. So let's go over this. So you got 20 clients at $500 a month, whether that's training, photography, bodywork, whatever. So that's 20. Just let's walk through the math. You can enter your math how you see fit. So that's about $10,000 a month in revenue, right? Now you raise your prices to $700 a month, but you lose 3 clients. So you go from 20 clients to 17. Now you're of 17 clients at $700. You're actually earning $11,900. So you increased your total gross revenue by $1,900. Who wouldn't want a $1,900 raise, right? I would take that right now. So you increase that by 19, almost $2,000. You have fewer lessons, fewer texts, fewer emergencies, fewer scheduling conflict, and more profit. Now, where do those 3 people go? That's not your problem. Don't even worry about it. They will find another person that's chasing everyone else to the bottom of that price game. You have more profit, less stress, and that's what you're looking for. And revenue really isn't what matters, right? In my business, I grew revenue, but I also grew all my costs at the same time. But my cost per client, my revenue per employee, that never increased. Or the cost per client increased, but the revenue per team member or per cost unit didn't increase. Really, so revenue isn't the end all be all. What you want is profit, time, and quality of life. And raising your prices can do that. So this is one thing that I found this universal in all our businesses, in everything I've ever run, as all the service-based businesses. And I'm sure you're going to shake your head like, yep. The lowest paying clients, they have the highest profit or the highest expectations, the most unrealistic expectations. They're the most demanding. They're the most emotional, and end up to be the most desperate. For JEB, what that looked like is these guys came in and that $1,000 a month they were spending, or when we started to change our rates and we actually got them up to sometimes $20,000 a month, those people who we were charging much less. Sometimes this actually happened. I'll tell you this story. So one of our clients came in and they had $1,500 a month to spend. And I learned to ask the question of what other marketing are you doing and what's your budget for all those things. What I failed to ask that in this case. And what happened was that was the only $1,500 they had a month to spend on any marketing. And they needed it to work. And I didn't know any of those things. They were desperate. This was like their last salvo to make this work. And they were a really, really cool product. If they had told me that in the beginning and I had understand that they had to generate this unrealistic level of revenue for the budget they were providing, and that they were doing nothing else and they desperately needed this to work, I would have told them to go spend their money somewhere else. And so that became a huge problem. They were local, so they were in my office. I had one person cry. They wanted all their money back, and the program was successful. It just didn't meet this completely unrealistic expectation. So you may find that some of these clients you have that aren't paying much money, whatever the services that you provide, they are harassing you all the time. They want to be an Olympic champion on, a 27-year-old horse that costs $400. They want you to provide the most elaborate video and photography work that they can possibly get. They've seen on TikTok, and now they want all of that. They may want you to repair lameness, navicular lameness by doing body work, whatever those things are. But they are typically the highest and most unrealistic expectation. And when I look back, all of my major headaches, they never came from the clients that were spending a ton of money, that were spending a good, healthy income. They were always from those small clients that were paying us the least amount. So you have examples too, like cheapest lesson clients, the lowest price boarders, the bargain shoppers, and the people negotiating every fee. It doesn't always happen this way, but often, because they're shopping on pricing first. So there are people who purchase your products and service based on value. So they look and they compare different trainers, different photographers, different vets, different boarding facilities, arenas, whatever that service is, and they look and they compare A, B, and C, and those value shoppers, they say, who can solve my problem the best? Who can get me towards my goal the best? Maybe in the most efficient way. Who do I think I can work with the best? Who's shown the success the best? And those are the customers you want. So, but the price, the price based shopper, they only want the cheapest. That's what they're looking for. They're going to compare all these people, and they're going to compare them on price alone. And those people, they're just chasing everything to the bottom. That's what they're doing. They're going to go to there. You'll find that they aren't even at a trainer very long, or they're not at a body worker very long. They're going to use you until they find someone with a lower price. And customer retention, what we found at the marketing agency and the other agency I run, you don't really make money the first time you work with someone, because there's a lot of upfront, there's a lot of intake. You make money on the long term. So you want someone who's going to see the value and stick around, not someone who's going to shop. And, horse trainers, the people who come in and they've been the 7 trainers in your area, and they're trainer shoppers, and they go around, they do the same thing. And it's that pricing is a race to the bottom, and nobody wins. The consumer doesn't even win because they're always finding the worst person to provide that service. So you want to find a value shopper. So now we got to raise rates. We talked about the emotional load and how to get through imposter syndrome, and gave you some stories. But there's really 2 ways. You can raise everyone at once, and that's where you give them 30, 60 days notice. You give them a simple letter, no emotional real explanation. You don't want to go into the costs have been increasing, and, I've been working 7 days a week. I haven't had any time off. I don't see my family. Like, all those things are 100% valid, but that's on your side. They don't care. So don't bore them with that. And frankly, you lose if you think of this as like a negotiation, when you get emotional, you're going to lose that battle. You lose stature in their eyes. You know, they're coming to you for a service for a reason. They trust you. They want you to do things. When you don't want to beg. You know, you don't want to be seen as begging, and that changes the authority dynamic between you and your clients, and it also lowers you. That doesn't help you earn more. It actually uh, makes them feel like you're not as valuable. So no emotional explanation, no apologizing, and no justification. Just something like, "Hey, effective August 1st, my training rates will increase from 800 to 950 per month. Thank you for your continued trust and support. I'm really looking forward to working with you to help you achieve your goals this year." Sign. Done. And that's it. So the pros of this method of doing it are its immediate impact. It cleans up your pricing right away. It's easier administration. You don't have to remember everyone's, rates are raising. It makes your invoicing easier. All that stuff. It's just easy. The cons, you're going to have some client turnover. And emotionally, it feels difficult. You're going to deal with all those things. Imposter syndrome. Am I worth this? People are going to leave. I'm going to lose my business. People are going to laugh. They're going to joke. My peers are going to talk about me that I raised rates and my business folded. So it's emotionally a difficult decision. Cleaner raises your profit immediately, risk of losing clients, and you got to deal with all the emotional stuff. So option 2, and we're actually going to go through 3 options. So I lied. We got 3. But option 2 is raise your prices for new clients only. So all your current clients stay. You'll feel emotionally good about that. But anyone coming in gets the new rate. So if you're charging $500 a month for training, the new people come in at $1,000 or $750 or $900, whatever that is. And that's your new publicized rate. So you get a better rate. Your clients, your profit gradually increases. You don't have that big, but the pros are it's easier emotionally, less client disruption typically, and an easier transition. The cons are it takes longer to increase your profit. It creates multiple pricing tiers that are hard to track. Now we have an administrative load on your invoicing that you didn't have before. It can get messy in that whole thing, and it doesn't necessarily solve your problem that you're having right away. So you're looking, forward in there. And here's a con: it doesn't get rid of the clients you don't want. So sometimes that's what pricing is. So neither is right or wrong. We'll go over another way here in a second, but pick the one you'll actually do. It's sort of like which Bible is the best to read. It's the one you're going to read. Which fitness program is the best? The one you're going to do. So which method? It's the one you're going to do. So in most businesses, when you do this, you don't really lose as many clients. The fear really just exists in your head, not theirs. Most of the clients already believe your worth. So when I changed prices and we went from 1,500 to 3,000, from 3,000 to 6,000. When we changed that, we did lose some clients. But guess which clients we lost? We lost the horrible ones. We lost the ones that one tried to fist fight one of my team members. We lost the ones who would text me at 2 a.m., not realizing that I'm West Coast and they're East Coast. Well, they realized it. They just didn't care. Those were the clients we lost. But we didn't lose a whole lot of them. So just like that math in the beginning, we ended up wildly profitable. That's how I was able to first offer my team benefits, retirement, and healthcare. Later on, we even bought each of them life insurance policies for their families. That was what we were able to do when we increased clients. And, like I said, those clients aren't the ones that you want anyway. But let's talk about one more way you can think about pricing. It's called capacity pricing. So you have pricing when you're 50% full. You have pricing when you're 75% full. And then you have wait list, a whole other pricing. So you can think of it like that. So, for people just starting out, You can go off, 0% capacity pricing. And that's like, and I grow every single business. I grew like that, like the coming right out of the gate. I just want your business. And that's what we did. And that'll get you clients, but then you'll find you've got a lot of bad ones in there. So you can go and just say, look, when we're 50% full, this is the price. When we are 75% full, that price increases. And when there's a wait list, man, that price increases dramatically. And then you'll find that that your profit will increase. So a lot of people think pricing is simply a way to value your service and to get paid. But pricing can really be a demand management tool. So if you have high demand, that's going to tell you your prices are probably too low. If you always have one spot open, maybe your price is just right, or you're priced just a little bit high. So you can use that price to manage the demand of your services and make changes to it as you need to continue to make a profit. But you also have to remember, pricing is part of the value of the product. Have you ever wanted to buy something and then you saw it was really cheap and you instantly thought, or it was really inexpensive, and you instantly thought, well, this couldn't possibly do what I want it to do for the price they're charging? Or, oh, I thought this was something really of high quality, but you're only charging $5 for this. I don't know if I want to do that. Pricing is part of what the consumer takes in when they determine if this product is valuable or not. So it's one of the 4 P's of marketing. So if you're priced very low, that may be totally effective when you're starting out or when you have a changeover in clients and you need to attract clients. But it's going to tell people how good you are. So if you're $2,000 a month and everyone is $1,000 a month, you are going to have people who think it's just not worth it. There's no way. No one will pay that around here. But you also may get people to go, why? Why are you charging? There must be something different. There has to be something different. And so you'll see that changes their impression of you. Now you're going to fight the imposter syndrome. Am I worth it? You're going to fight all those things while you're playing with that. But that is our pricing strategy. I did it at JEB Commerce. I even coached one of our trainers to do it themselves, to the chagrin of my wife, because our fees got increased as well. But what I saw it do is it took a whole lot of pressure off that trainer. And hopefully we're going to have them on the podcast. We're going to talk about that. But it took pressure off. They were able to spend a little more time with each client and each horse. And they were able to earn more money. And you want clients that want you to be profitable. And the price conscious shopper, they don't care. They just want the lowest price. You want a good stable of clients that want you to be profitable. So the 3 ways to think about pricing and increase it: do it all at once, take that brave, courageous step into the darkness and send out that letter. Or you have new clients coming in, get charged an increased rate, and then capacity-based pricing is a way you can look at it too. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to go take 15 minutes this week. I want you to look at your pricing. And I want you to ask yourself one question. If you started the business today with your current experience and results, would you charge what you're charging right now? And sit with that question for a while. So if you started your business with the experience and the results that you have now, would you be charging? Would your prices stay the same? If the answer is no, it may be time to change. So anyway, there's the important topic of pricing. I hear about it all the time. Everyone is super scared about it. But it is what it is. I've done it, and I'll never share anything and encourage you guys to do something that I haven't done before. This is a really big issue in the horse community, and it's a huge issue in the Western world for sure. As the English world has seemed to have pricing down. We're going to have a really cool guest on next month who's going to talk about good financial sustainability that comes from that world. I'm very excited to have her on. But anyway, I hope this resonates with you. If you have questions, just comment below this or email me at jamie@equinerevshare.com. Definitely let us know what you think. If you think I'm crazy, let me know. Comment on that too. If you need help with that, I can definitely direct you to people, and I don't mind jumping on a phone call and helping you out as well. So definitely keep in touch. Let me know what you think. And then let me know your price increase story, or let me know the head trash that you're trying to get through. Comment on this podcast or this clip and let us know. Thanks for listening to this episode of Equine Business Edge. If you got value from today's conversation, make sure you subscribe, follow, and share this episode with another horse professional who could benefit from it. Word of mouth is how great businesses and great podcasts grow, and your support truly helps us reach more people in the horse industry. And this podcast is proudly produced and sponsored by EquineRevShare.com. EquineRevShare.com was built specifically for horse professionals. Trainers, instructors, clinicians, boarding facilities, influencers, breeders, and all sorts of equine business owners who are already recommending products to clients every single day. Whether it's tack, supplements, grooming products, apparel, feed, training tools, or barn equipment, your clients are already asking what you use and trust. And we provide a way for you to make that happen, earn a commission, and all doing it the same way you do it right now. Equine RevShare helps you turn those recommendations into an additional income stream by giving you access to retail partnerships and easy-to-share product links from equine brands and retailers all over the world, all in one place. No complicated tech, no inventory, no awkward selling, just your cell phone. Just a simple way to get rewarded for the influence and trust you've already built in the horse industry. To learn more or get started, visit EquineRevShare.com. And thanks again for being here. We'll see you in the next episode of Equine Business Edge.